Hello. In this video, I'm going to be drawing this stag beetle. These photos are by James Reben. I really like the photos, but I realized that some parts are a little bit out of focus. So I attempted to get some other photos that were provided, and yeah, there are a lot of good photos. I really like this stag beetle. It has a lot of personality. I don't know why I think that, but it's really interesting. So to start off, I am going to draw the gesture of the ball of the head. Oh, it's more of like a tic-tac shape. And I may have to try this a few times to get the shape right. But yeah, the photos are really good. I feel like when it comes to good photos, beetles are the way to go. I mean, I feel like a lot of other bugs are very hard to get good photos of. I mean, I don't mean that in like an insulting way. I mean, most insects do not stick around for you to take some photos of them. They're more trying not to get eaten or attacked by other insects, or worse, which, when I say worse, I'm talking about parasitical wasps. If I'm saying that word right. Okay, but I'm gonna draw a thing for the head, which I will eventually add more structure onto. You know what? Now that I look at it, I think I should make it a little bit wider. I don't like the angle. I think that works for now. So the interesting thing about a lot of beetles is if you look at the midsection shell, one more often than not would probably jump to the assumption that that is covering the entire thorax, when that is not the case, because it's kind of weird because the thorax exists a little bit differently. So we can tell from this photo here that it's a portion of the thorax, but the thorax is all of this section here where all of the legs are. And it's interesting because the front two legs are attached above, like around this midsection shell covering area, and there are the other legs are further in the back. The other important thing to keep in mind is the distance between the midsection legs and the back. I'm pretty sure stag beetles can fly or glide. They probably rarely do it. I'm just gonna Google this real quickly because I'm pretty sure most beetles could glide. I'm sorry I didn't do this before. Yeah, they can. So, a thing I've noticed in a lot of bugs, and I've yet to read any books on beetles, even though I have one sitting on my to-do desk. The legs, the back legs, there's probably some mechanical advantage of the stag beetle having the legs further in the back. I'm pretty sure that the wings are probably, we can tell there's a bit of a mid area right here where they probably open up so they can fly and not glide. I know a lot of insects are different when it comes to whether they fly or glide. So now what I want to do is I want to add, I'm going to make like an oval shape that's going to be covering the thorax. And the thorax takes up a pretty big chunk. If we look at it here, it's pretty significant and big. But the other interesting thing to know is that though the thorax may be smaller, the shell covering kind of like hangs off to a certain extent. So it's important to be aware of all of that. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to make the ball, or the gesture of the thorax, a little bit smaller than what we're actually seeing. There's some of a bit of a guesstimation game when it comes to it. I think it should have been angled a bit more up. let's say that, and looking at it, and looking at the abdomen's definitely back there. It's definitely back there. It's just a little bit larger. I guess I could draw another ball for it. I mean, it's a bit of a weird shape because there's not so much to it. I mean, there is a lot to it. Obviously, it has guts and all of that, but it's all, it's just a little bit smaller. Like, if I had to give an estimate, it's probably just a little bit larger of an oval than the head. Well, perhaps it's even a bit more, less like that, a bit more ellipsoid width-wise. I know it's a bit weird to think of it like that, but I will add on to it. I'm going to try that one more time. It's a little bit of an interesting shape to kind of cover. Considering there's overlap, maybe I can try to handle it like that. Okay, so now what I want to do, and it's really cool that we could see where the legs attach to, I'm going to jump to another layer I have called structure. And the reason why I want to do that is because looking at everything, I could just put the balls on the leg. I'm sorry, I could just put the pilot holes for the legs on the ball of the thorax, but I think I need to add some structure to help delineate where everything is going. So to start off, I kind of actually want to do the midsection shell. The reason why I want to do the midsection shell is because when I see the front two legs, there's a bit of a gap space between the midsection shell and the back section shell. There's like a little bit of a gap here. Pretty sure that's so the beetle could put its wings out, so it offers an advantage, even though there's like this intermediary connecting area here, and there's also another intermediary connecting area here as well. So if I was going to do that, I think I want to maybe I'll put some points down so I have a little bit of a better area to work with. And that's kind of the shape I'm seeing for that. And if I was to estimate it, I do have to do that. I would say like about here. And then we could just connect it. Well, it is rounded, but the perspective makes it looking a little flatter. About there. And now that I look at it again, I think I may have overestimated it a little bit, but I'll try to work with it. Because now when I look at my reference compared to what I've done, I think it's just a little bit too big. I think this area worked, but I think it needs to be down a little bit further. Like pretty much right there, I think. And I think even with the shape, it's a little messed up. It's still going to be a bit too wide. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line here where I kind of see a little bit of a bulge, and then I want to kind of connect it there, connect it there, and I think that's an okay shape that helps show it. Now what I want to do, and the thing I'm trying to be aware of is the little bit of gap space. Like when you look at this photo, you could see the gap space a little bit better. Like there is a little area where a portion of the thorax is revealed, and it's interesting. So now what I want to do is about here, I'm just going to assume that that's like the midsection of the shell. And looking at the back, I guess you could say like from here it just goes ever so slightly off. It's just a little bit of an overhang, but it's a very tight overhang when it comes to covering the thorax. Sorry, the portion portion of the thorax and all of the abdomen. So sometimes there is a little bit of an estimation game you have to play when it comes to connecting everything. And all I could say for that is observe your reference to the best of your ability. And the more you do it with time, the better you will get at it. And yeah, this is like the back section of the shell. I'm doing this line over here, by the way. Oh, I think I was a little off. Another method that I've been trying to use a lot more is a method called ghosting, and it's a way to draw without drawing, in which you practice drawing lines by getting into the flow before executing the line. It's about there. So the other thing I kind of realized is I think the curve should have been a bit more L-shaped, or more kind of like that. I think it should have been more like that. Well, I even curved a little bit too much here. I think like that. I think that's the shape that I was aiming for. And perhaps I even added a little bit too much of a gap area between here, or perhaps it works because it's a little bit blurred out. But for the most part, it works well, I believe. And now what I want to do is I want to add structure for the head. And once again, if you're looking at the head, there is like just a small little bit of gap room between the the head and the start of the midsection cover. It's a very tight space that I want to keep in mind. And it's so the gap space is very subtle. I think what I'm going to do is, I was a little bit bad in doing that estimation. I think what I should have done was the first initial kind of like dip, kind of like on the temple. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to put 2 points down where kind of like the beginning of the eye socket is, of where I'm seeing it. It's about there for this one. It's kind of like at that point, that's where I see the beginning of the eye socket going. And I will try to color in the eyes so that they're easy to see. I think the eyes are a pretty good marking point. So the other eye is over, well, the interesting thing here is because of the perspective, we can kind of see where it's exactly like that, but I see a little bit of a space right here. It kind of like coincides so much to like this little area about there. And it's all right here. And considering the eye, it's kind of like about there. And I will color it in. I feel like the eyes are usually a good marking point. And there's also a lot more extra things to add on. So it kind of dips. There's kind of like this extra little area below the eye. I guess it goes more connected to here. Well, it's just a little bit of an excess hang. We do have it over here too. And I want to connect the head. It's kind of flat. Well, perhaps I should have... I think this area here should have been a bit more subtle. Now that I look at it, it kind of does something around the lines of that. Well, maybe it even goes up like that. So I'm just going to make a line to connect it. I will be adding more details. Oops. Okay. There's a lot going on. When I look at the eye sockets, another interesting thing here is that there's kind of like, they're kind of like bulging out a bit of how it's like formed, and there's kind of like this line you really can't see, or you sort of can. It kind of goes along the curvature of the head where the eyes kind of all connect out and kind of bulge. The eyes are kind of like inset within the surface, but they also kind of bulge out a little bit as they're all connected. It's kind of like these very subtle connection points. Okay, what I want to do now is looking at the, I'm not sure, pincers or these horn things. Looking at them, they're really interesting. And this photo is the best way to show how they kind of connect. They're kind of initially inset, growing out of two specific areas. So they're kind of like a little bit in more of the eyes. So I'm going to start off by drawing kind of an inset ball here. And the reason why I made the ball over here a little bit larger is because of the perspective. Well, I guess they're kind of the same. I should have made them the same. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot a point for where I kind of want them to be headed. And I will add more to them as I go. So come around and they connect. And the important thing to know is they're three-dimensional. They're not just sitting there. They have this. They have all these three-dimensional planes to them that could be a little bit difficult to see, but the more you look at it, the more you'll see that they have this interesting curvature to them. And a lot of it's a little subtle, but it's all there. So now I'm going to draw the other one. And now that I look at it, I think I may have made the ball of the head a little bit too wide. Or perhaps I could have fixed that by working on the curvature more. Because I think I made a little bit of a mistake. It should have been, say, here. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to look at that one more time. So yeah, there's all these different plane changes when it comes to the horns. So do be aware of that. The other interesting thing here is that looking at the bottom side of it, it kind of looks like there's a little extra piece here, but it's missing from the other side, which is weird because if I was to flip this stag beetle to the other side, I would expect to see that thing, but I can't really see it. Perhaps this photo is of a different stag beetle. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to start with the other pincer thing, and I want to keep in mind this little gap area, because I think that's a good little reference point for keeping everything in check. Let's say it's about there, and now I could try to connect it. And that one's kind of coming off a little bit, I'm pretty sure. So you'll notice over here how I connected it to a ball. So I'm pretty sure that that little gap area that exists between its pincer thing and its head is so to give it a mechanical advantage to move it, so it has some more mobility, kind of like the wings. And I just need to think where the ending point should be. So another interesting thing here is I'm going to quickly draw some little pilot holes for the antenna. And the antenna are kind of like just a little bit above that area. They're like right on the edge of where, or a little bit past it, but like right near the edges. I guess maybe I'll quickly draw a line. Okay, sorry about that little tangent. Yeah, I'm going to now connect them to the head, or connect this one to the head. And the reason why I made the balls, I kind of made the balls as a way to understand that these forms are wrapping around something internally. I mean, there may not really be a ball in there, but I tend to think of like a joint connecting your shoulder and arm. Like there's a ball joint in there in your arm, but you can't see that ball. You know what I mean? I think that that's kind of a reason why I formed the habit of doing that. The other interesting thing here is I could go and connect this to the ball to show the connection. There's also this other area. It's not connected to the pincers, but it's kind of like overlapping, so it kind of gives the illusion of it. I'm not sure what you would call it. It looks like maybe a little bit of a mouthpiece. I am going to draw it, of course. It's kind of like, if I was going to summarize it, kind of like that, and it connects to the head. Okay, so I drew that. And now what I want to do is I want to show the bit of the plane change here. As it comes and wraps around the internals. And yeah, it's interesting how you could see the curvature of these pincer things, and the light is really helping us understand that. And I also need to draw these two little things. I'm not sure what they are, but they look like they're used for scooping in food into its mouth. It should be a little bit closer. And the other one is like right, it's a little bit behind that other thing, so it kind of makes it a little bit of a challenge to place in. Okay, and I'll show you. Just honing out a little bit more of that structure. So on this end, it definitely exists as a very similar shape to the other one. It's just a bit more obscured. I should have also mentioned there's like a very small shape around there. But yeah, sometimes you get overlap and it kind of makes certain sections a little bit more of a challenge to see. I'm not sure what that thing is, but I do see like a very small piece hanging out. I'm not exactly sure. It's something. Well, it's even closer to the other end. Okay. Now, what I want to do is, when you are looking at the intermediary connecting areas here, I did draw it like that, but looking at the beetle, it kind of looks like it's further in even a bit more than what I made it. Which is interesting to keep in mind. The other interesting thing here is how like there's the body under here. It's definitely there, and it would kind of like connect to it all to show the three-dimensional qualities of it. But yeah, it's a bit more hard to see on this side. Okay, so also, if you look at the actual body, it's kind of like there's a bit of a three-dimensional nature to the shell, which is clear, but I wanted to quickly draw that to show. And the other thing, I try not to delve too much in detail, but there are all these striations along the shell. All these lines that follow along the curvature of it. But the important thing to keep in mind is this line that I put about here is more integral for the wings. The other striations are a bit more just of like a texture of the stag beetle. And I could try to draw the ones that I see. They are a little bit obscured or out of focus. But yeah, all these interesting striations. When I say striations, those are like grooves on the shell. And I will get into doing the antenna next, just to tell you I have not forgotten about the antenna. So please do not think I forgot. Yeah, so many striations. And I am trying to follow the curvature of them. To the best of my ability. Okay, so now I want to focus on the antenna, and I will get to the legs. I have not forgotten about the legs, so please do not do not think that. So I want to quickly summarize the antenna. They kind of look a bit like staffs. Shape's interesting. It's a little bit bulging out near the top. Before it does that. Yeah, a little bit like that. There are some extra bumps along the antenna. There's probably some advantage for the stag beetle of having those. The specific reason I do not know. Okay, now for the legs. And the interesting thing here is in the photo, we could see the front two legs, this leg right here, we could see a bit of the back leg. This one's a little bit out of focus, and the back leg, the other one's, I think it may be a little bit tucked under the body. But from this photo, we could see all of them. And the placement is quite interesting. I would say, well, on the midsection before, it's kind of like more near the back of the shell for the front two legs. It's about like here and there, or maybe here and there. Well, maybe that one should have been up a little more. We could see that the other back legs are beyond the midsection shell and kind of on the back, about well, kind of like here, a little bit there. And the two back legs are very far back. They're like really near the rear of the thorax, which is almost, I'm like very certain that they are for flying or some mechanical advantage for that. And they're actually really close to each other on the back. I would really like to see a stag beetle midair. Okay, so I drew those. Now what I want to do is I want to, well, I can't draw all of the legs. I could infer based on this photo here, but I will quickly draw some lines for how I believe it's kind of going. And they're very tucked. So it's tucked all the way, say, about here for that leg. Something along the lines of that. It's somehow connecting to that again. Leg over here is kind of like coming out. It's doing something over there, come out a little bit. Kind of doing something like something like that. It's very subtle. Yeah, the other leg over here, a little bit like that. The back leg is doing something before it kind of shoots out above. Well, more angled like that. And the other leg is just peeking out, doing something, and it's just peeking out before it's tucked back in under its body. I'm going to do this leg first. And yeah, the parts of the stag beetle legs are pretty big picture shapes. So this one kind of does that before it comes back around and tucks under the shell again. I could have shown another line to kind of show the three-dimensional nature of the shell. I should have done that. Sometimes, like with very thin things, there's a very subtle separation. And usually when I think of things like that, I think of like leaves. Like leaves are not flat. They look flat, but more often than not, they do have a very small level of thickness on them, which is not clear to see. So looking at the legs again, there's like this distinct shape. I'm going to connect it. Yeah, they have all these distinct shapes to them as it connects to that. There are some other minor ridges as its legs go up. Okay, now I'm going to do this leg over here. Okay, yeah, sadly the leg over here, it's a little bit obscured, kind of hard to see. I mean, I could have tried to make an educated guess based on the other photos, but I'd say it's probably doing something like that. Then you have a bit of a longer like shape. It has all those spikes, but they may be a little bit out of perspective view. And the ending part is kind of like, it's interesting how like all the legs kind of are a little bit different. They have these little, like the front two legs look like they're a bit more reinforced than say the midsection, and the back legs are like way different than what the front legs. They're like a little bit thinner, probably for some aerodynamics thing. Wouldn't be surprised if the front two legs were to help it stop and land. There's a shape kind of like that. Then we see these smaller parts to about there, kind of like beads that all connect. And we have like this thin shape there. And this point, which I'm pretty sure it does have a little bit of a thickness to it. It's kind of another one on the other side. Okay, now for this part, well, just a bit of a, it looks like it's just a part of that back leg section right here. It's kind of like that and that we really can't see all of it. It's a bit tucked under its body. This part we can see portion of the leg there. Then we see like the tube-like shape going to about here. Thins out a little bit. Then it gets smaller to about there as it connects. Then there's like a little bit of another extra teardrop, very subtle teardrop shape goes there. Then we could, like, it's hard to see what those little things for probably gripping plants and whatnot. They're definitely like there. Yeah, so overall, that's what I'm seeing. Maybe I should have extended the back shell to kind of be a bit wider than how I did it. You don't know until you know. Perhaps we could see a little bit of the thorax under here. It's a little bit obscured, but it very well could be. No, I don't think so, because of what I said before, based on my other knowledge. So yeah, you have these interesting planes. You have the separations for where the wings could be. And yeah, that is what I am seeing. I think maybe I should have made the front leg here a bit closer to the antenna here. I think that's definitely a bit of an issue. Other than that, maybe this mouthpiece area, I should have tried to make it more evident that it was within the head. But yeah, those are the major things that I am seeing on this stag beetle. It was quite a challenge because of all the different plane changes. I probably made some mistakes along the way. I probably, well, it's hard to say. Maybe I made some parts a little bit too big, some parts a little too small. Perhaps I should have worked on that curvature. The curvature over here should have been a bit more flattened out, kind of like that. I would say it should have been like that. Once again, thanks to James Reben for these beautiful photos. Beetles are an interesting challenge to draw. I definitely do have reason to try to draw more of these to get better at drawing beetles. I think certain beetles like this beetle have a certain level of complexity, probably on par with drawing scorpions, because they have so much what I like to call insect armor, or I guess in the case of arachnid or scorpion, arachnid armor. I mean, I should have just called it bug armor. Bug armor. Bug armor. But yeah, I will post links to these photos in the description if it helps. Yeah, thank you for sticking around. If you like the video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. And if you have a question, please ask in the comments. You know what? I kind of do now. I don't see it. So maybe another thing that I didn't see, there's kind of a little bit of a depression in the mid-cover shell here. It's very subtle, but it's kind of like it kind of dips a little bit. Kind of does something like that. I think it is important to be aware of different morphologies of our beetle. But yeah, those are the major things. Thank you for sticking around. Bye.